To Kill a Mockingbird, video 23. Let's start with some questions, right? First question. Why did Mr. Connor, when he was accusing the boys there, he included in the charges the charge of cussing in front of a lady? Answer: because according to him, they cursed so loudly that all the ladies in Macomb heard them. Question: what did the judge decide to do to the boys because of what they had done? Answer: it was decided that the boys would go to the State Industrial School. Question: was that a bad place? Answer: no, it was not. People would go there. They're going to get professional preparation, and they get food and shelter. Question: what did Mr. Radley think of his son going to that place, his son Arthur? Answer: he thought it was a big deal. I think he thought it was like a prison, right? It's like, my son is going to prison. Of course, it's a soft prison, but my son is going to prison and he's going to have a dirty record. And, for the rest of my life, I will know I had a son who went to prison. So, yeah, the next question. So, what did he ask the judge to do? He asked the judge to let him take care of it. He promised that Arthur wouldn't do anything of the kind anymore. Okay, so let's go on to new ground, right? The boys attended the industrial school and received the best secondary education to be had in the state. One of them eventually worked his way through engineering school at Auburn. The doors of the Radley house were closed on weekends as well as Sundays, and Mr. Radley's boy was not seen again for 15 years. Well, I don't know about you, but this creeps me out, right? So you have this father that loves so much integrity, respectful life, that he does something like that. Let me be a little digressive here. The love for the right is very important, right? But the love for what is right in a point that you do something wrong, then we're talking about something very damaging, right? If in order to protect what is right you do something incredibly wrong, then you completely forgot the sense of proportion, and you forgot the sense of right and wrong. I know I'm being digressive, but remember, one of the points, I don't know if I've told in this reading of this specific book, but in many other videos. Oh, by the way, sorry for the digression inside of the digression. I'm going to post a video in the channel called How to Read. How to Read. I'm just taking notes again because otherwise I would forget. And one of the things I say in that video, I strongly recommend that you do that, right? One of the things I say in the video is that if you don't read a book and the book doesn't talk about the reality you live in, so you're not exactly reading a book, you're just seeing, a structure, a bunch of sentences made by a person, right? So that means that we should be digressive when we read book, because we have to connect those experiences to our experiences. All right? Why? How can we establish that connected? Because this book talks about the world, and we live, guess where? In the same world. All right? So the book is about the same truth we live in. Some people believe not. I really love discussions, and I can tell you very democratically that they are wrong. Okay? They are wrong. A good book is in the same world as we are. That's why digressions are okay. Sometimes you will go too far. That's okay. But you are just making the book real. You know? You're just making the book real. So, going back to my other digression, I was in the digression inside of digression, going back. So, I don't know, let's imagine Stalin, right? Or Hitler. They were very sure they are righting wrongs, you know? Hitler was making our race more pure, you know? And in the future, everybody would be healthy according to his thinking, right? Stalin as well, right? He would establish equality. There would be no oppression, you know, and the world would be a beautiful place. But both of them, in order to achieve something that was good, they loved so much what was good that they caused more damage than, of course, much more damage if they just had left things, you know, alone. You know, that's when we understand that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? You know, I'm pretty afraid of a bad, evil guy, but I would be much more afraid of a bad guy, an evil guy with a purpose, with a dream. All right? Because if you're just cruel because you are cruel, you know you want to see people suffer, what are you going to do? You see a guy on the street and then you, I don't know, you hit the guy, you beat the guy up, you even torture. Okay, that's horrible. Like a serial killer, right? Like a serial killer. Let's get one of the most horrible things. So he got like 12 people, 13 people, tortured them and did horrible things to them, cut them up, ate parts of it. Yeah, I'm very afraid of an evil guy like that. But I'm more afraid of an evil guy with a plan and with a dream. Just as Stalin would save the world, Hitler would save the world, and many other guys, right? Because then we're not talking about just the pleasure of cruelty with 13, 14, 100 people. We're talking about millions of people, all right? So it seems that our love for what is good should be balanced with our reality. Yes, it would be very good if the world there were no diseases all over the world. Yes, of course it would be very good, but we have to remember that reality says, look, you can't, you know? And if you try this way, you are going to be the disease, you know? When you're talking about one person, I think it's that kind of person that commits a mistake, a sin, if you are religious, and you start beating yourself up so much about that, thinking you're a horrible person, and that you are committing a bigger sin, you know, that is self-loathing. You are hating yourself. That's a bigger sin than you had committed before. I know it's very far, but talking about Mr. Radley, yes, you must love what is right, because of course it would be wrong, you know, for boys to do what they did. But by trying to right that wrong, he committed something much worse than the boys. You know, what? Think about it. Think about it. How long do you think was Mr. Connor, right? How long do you think was Mr. Connor locked in the outhouse? What? 1 hour? 3 hours? Let's give it, okay, 10 hours, a whole day. How long was Arthur locked in his house? We have the answer right here. He was not seen again for 15 years. Okay? On the one hand, you have a bunch of guys trying to be evil. You know, they just want to have fun. They want to hurt people. They want to shock people mainly, right? Alright, so this is bad. This is very bad. But on the other hand, you have a guy trying to be correct. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you shouldn't try to be correct, but you have a guy that is trying to be correct. He's trying to be right at all costs. Who caused more damage? Okay, that's the idea. That's why we should be very, very, very careful with ideas, you know? People usually have this psychology, right? Have this idea that the impulses, you know, oh, it's our aggressive impulse that, you know, make us animals. Those impulses, they can, I don't know, you're going to slap a kid on the face. That's horrible, but that's what an impulse does, you know? Or even something more horrible than that. Impulses, okay, can be horrible. But ideas, my friend, then your ideas can be much, much, much more horrible, alright? So yes, we should train ourselves to control our impulses, but we should be 100 times more careful with the ideas we have. Why? Because impulses happen in the world. Ideas can happen in an alternate reality, my mind, and I can close my mind, inside this alternate reality, and then I just won't see, you know? Hitler wouldn't, you know, I think, wouldn't lie down on his bed and say, oh, I'm being very evil, I'm torturing people. No, he made all the effort to be closed in his little world. And once you are closed in your little world here, you can do all sorts of horrible stuff in the world because you're not in the world, you know? You are in your little world. And this little world here is constructed by ideas. Okay, so that's why ideas are much more dangerous, because ideas have the power to take you out of reality. Then you can torture, you know, because in your little world of ideas, torture is fine. You are doing something good for humanity, right? Then you can kill, you can mass kill, right? And etc. and etc. Okay. Let me reread this little paragraph here after this long digression. The other boys attended the industrial school and received the best secondary education to be had in the state. One of them eventually worked his way through engineering school at Auburn. The doors of the Radley house were closed on weekends as well as Sundays. Sorry, on weekdays. I think I read wrongly the last time. The doors of the Radley house were closed on weekdays as well as Sundays. And Mr. Radley's boy was not seen again for 15 years.